Welcome to our second episode of Hungry Talks. I'm Bella.
And I'm Alana.
And tonight we're exploring the mystery of duos. We're going to be answering the questions on all of our minds, such as, should we be budding up now before we get into the ad world? Do we apply solo for jobs and end up in an arranged duo? All these questions and more will be answered tonight. If you guys have any questions throughout the episode, drop them in the chat and we'll save them for the end.
And to help us tackle these questions head on, please welcome our brilliant copywriter/art director duo, all the way from Akcelo in Sydney, Zach and Grga. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here tonight.
Our pleasure.
Hi, happy to be here.
All right, let's get straight into it. We'd love to know, how did you both get into the industry? What's your origin story, Zach?
Initially, I wanted to be a poet. And then I thought I would like to make some money as well. So I applied to the bachelor course at RMIT from Canberra, where I am initially from. I didn't get into the bachelor course, so I did the TAFE advanced diploma first, and then sort of pathway transitioned into the bachelor course. And then got a job off the back of pitch night. The last session of the night, no one was speaking to the team from Ogilvy, Melbourne. So I went up and introduced myself, showed off my portfolio, and followed up off the back of that, got an interview, got a job.
Wow, there you go. And how did you get into the industry, Grga?
Kind of similar, but probably pretty different. I went to uni in Wellington, sort of did like graphic design and stuff. And then when I got out, I decided to go client side because the money was much, much better. And then when I was in there, the work was much, much worse. So I went and was a freelance designer for a while. That was pretty boring. So I did award school, came top 10, and then got scooped up by Ogilvy, like I think a couple of days after. So yeah, and then I met Zach.
Oh, amazing. So yeah, that goes on to our next question. When and how did you guys become a duo?
We became a duo on our last interview. So I remember I'd done 2 interviews with Ogilvy, and then they said, hey, come and meet management and we'll talk about, a potential contract. And when I came in, there was a guy waiting in the waiting room as well, the foyer. And I was like, who's this? Is this my competition? He's like half my size. I could easily take him. And then next thing when I know, the ECD comes out and says, hey, can you guys both come with me? Zach, this is Grga. Grga, this is Zach. And we kind of did this weird meeting with the MD and the head of strategy, and then the ECD, and then they were like, so do you guys want to work here? We're like, yeah, I guess. And do you want to be a team? And then we looked at each other and like, sure, it's this, or start this whole process again.
Yeah. So I'd like to know, what kind of projects and clients have you recently worked with while at Akcelo?
At the moment, we're working on a project with TikTok in Canada, sort of bringing to life the food trends from the platform for their sort of summer. And we're also working on a out-of-home and social brief for Doritos.
Oh, cool. And going back to that TikTok, what is it like working with that new media platform?
They're kind of building as they go. So yeah, it's a bit interesting. You come up with ideas and they've sort of got no solid structure for this is what we do or this is what we don't do. So you can actually throw anything at them, and sometimes they'll bite completely. They did a giant inflatable cockatoo in Sydney Harbour, and then there'll be something else where just you want to use a celebrity? And they're like, no, we don't do celebrities. We're all about creators. So they're like still working themselves out, but also have sort of know where they're heading at the same time.
Sure. And do you have to scroll through TikTok for hours to be able to create content for it and ads for them? Are you a bit of a TikTok expert?
Zach
We do
is.
so much. Like, we've spent days literally scrolling through the platform, like, and then you realize, oh shit, I actually need to be thinking about how this will work in our concept instead of just watching the stuff that's on there.
That's great.
You get easily distracted.
Yeah, definitely. So, Zach, you're more the copywriter of the duo, and Grga, you're more of the art director. Do you guys strictly identify with these roles, or more so just as creatives?
We kind of have to.
You go.
Because I'm dyslexic and Zach's not very good on the tools, but that doesn't hold us back. Like, I've written the odd headline or copy or script, and Zach has, I think, actually got a better eye for detail than I do. A stickler.
I think we're sort of creatives first and foremost, though, right? Like, our trade is ideas, so we really concentrate on coming up with ideas, and then they need to be expressed through, writing and through visuals at some point, and then we divide up.
Cool, yeah. So in talking about that, like, what differences have you found applying for jobs and like marketing yourselves as like a duo and then individually?
I thought it was easier as a duo. Like, they kind of want, like, where we were going sort of like mid to senior, they just wanted like a team, and they wanted to know that you could sort of work together. But I think when I was sort of interviewing as a junior, they were more willing to take a risk and get you partnered up with someone. But that goes at any level as well. But it's a lot quicker to get a job as a team.
Oh, wow.
Well, I only I got the job at Ogilvy sort of without really applying for any jobs, so depends, maybe.
Well, thanks, guys. I think we've all learnt like a lot from your answers, and we are going to move on to our first segment now, called Who Done It and How'd You Do It?
We asked Zach and Grga to bring in a couple of their favourite projects that they've worked on. Before we play the campaign video, would you guys be able to give us a brief background of this project?
Yeah, so this first one is a concept for BP Ultimate. So I guess the background for this, we were given the brief, which was a pretty straightforward brief. They're sort of becoming the sponsors of the Supercars Championship. And so they just needed mainly a television campaign to introduce the new sponsorship. So we took the brief, we went away and sort of worked on some overarching ideas separately, and then we came together and workshopped them together and formed them into the ideas that we wanted to move forward. And I think this one was really collaborative. So I think we had the initial idea pretty top line, and then we worked it out together. We sort of built the idea of what would actually be in the TV script together, sort of just brainstorming back and forth. And then I went away and scripted it, and Grga came up with the key visuals to sell it in. And then there was like a 3-month process where we go back and forth and go into research and a whole lot of work. And we went to Bathurst to shoot it before we got this final product.
Great. Thanks, Zach. Let's watch the campaign video now.
Hi, my name's Bert. I'm a big fan of the supercars. It's my job to make sure everything's clean. The track, smells like Commodore. Cars, even the drivers. Oh, this is the front bumper from when Murph and Ambrose went at each other on Mount Panorama in 05. Whoa, there, that's me. Doing my job. They all appreciate it, because you can't get a top performance if it ain't clean. And that's why everyone around here uses BP Ultimate in their daily drives.
Yeah, I think that'll do us, Bert.
So Such a brilliant ad. I love its storytelling. So before you guys just walked us through a little bit of the creative process and what part you both played in it, would you be able to tell us a little bit more of those details and the nitty-gritty?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think we presented like for this one. I think we came up with sort of like 10 ideas, 10 ways in, and then presented sort of 4 or 5 of our favorites. One of them was a Knight Rider one that I still like, where Greg Murphy was like a Knight Rider car. But yeah, present them in, sort of go to BP, show them the ideas, and then this one was sort of a unanimous winner among us and the client as well. So it was actually picked there on the day. Sort of everyone goes out, sort of beers and stuff after, stoked about it. And then it gets to the point where it has to go through legal and make sure that you've got all the proof points right, and then how to roll it out. So after this was picked and sort of through legal, we did that one, which was a launch, and then we did 3 other 30-second spots. I think a bunch of social as well. I can't even remember how much that was. And then to get it all done, we had to get sort of 2 directors on board and do a 4-day shoot. But then that was super fun because we got to go to Bathurst and we actually got to take a Mustang around the track a couple times.
Amazing. Well, I think we've got another one coming up. So moving on to your second piece of work, and while it is for a different uni, Swinburne, Zach and Grga, tell us a little bit what it is about though, because it is a cool one.
Oh yeah, I didn't think of that. Sorry. Yeah, so this one.
Betraying us.
Yeah, so dumb.
No, we love it.
Yeah, see, that's why we need to go through rounds. Yeah, so this one was actually a proactive idea. So Zach and I were like kind of at the time not getting briefs that we were really enjoying. So we decided, what if we could do a bit of work that we wanted to make? And then just like working with Swinburne, we'd kind of seen that like everything they do was really complex, and like the scholarship process was part of that. So Zach and I were thinking, it's 2019. You got to be kind of concise to write. So why don't we give a scholarship away if you can write the best 6-word story? And then waited a couple months for the right time to show the client and managed to sell it in.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So let's take a look at it now. Amazing stuff. Really different to what we usually see for a scholarship application. You touched on it a little bit, but can you walk us through the creative process for this one?
Yeah, I think this is interesting. Obviously, like when you start off with an agency, not everywhere, but often you'll get sort of the briefs that may not have as much impact as you'd expect. So, or as you'd ideally be working towards. So, yeah, we really spent a lot of time early on, we still do spend a lot of time thinking of the ideas that we'd really love to make, instead of waiting for the brief and trying to respond to a brief. So we proactively came up with this idea. We had it as a sort of a one-page idea board, and eventually we were put on a brief for Swinburne Online that we sort of could tack the proactive idea onto the back of. It was sort of like, we initially wanted it to be a full degree course, and they came and said like, hey, we want a social campaign for these micro courses, short courses. And we're like, oh yeah, that's cool. We answered the brief, and then we're also like, but if you really want an impact, you can do this. And they bought it in and sort of let us make it. And off the back of that, we sort of got some awards for it, which is nice.
That's wow, that's incredible. Thank you so much. It's really great to get a behind the scenes look at and learn more about the development of and then kind of final execution of ads and, like you said, of briefs as well. So coming up now, you viewers at home have sent in some questions for our expert duo to answer on our new segment. This is Advice. Now, to protect the identity of our viewers, we've distorted their voices and faces so that they could ask their questions anonymously. Let's see what our first viewer has to say.
I love my creative partner to bits, but we've been clashing heaps. We're working on this project together, right? And I want to take a more strategic approach, but my partner wants to take a risk with an abstract approach. How do you overcome creative differences when in a duo?
What a great question. Zach, have you got an answer for our viewer?
Yeah, I think creative differences is something Grga and I know very well. We quite often clash, and I think that can be a good thing, right? Because you're both working towards sort of the best creative idea, and you're both looking at coming with different perspectives to how to make that happen. I think we'll argue things out, and eventually one of us will see the other's point of view a fair bit. But if that's not working, I think there's nothing wrong with bringing in a third party. In agencies, you'll have a creative director, and you need to sell the ideas into them before you can sell it into the client anyway. So it doesn't hurt to sort of get their perspective if you really can't decide between two different ways of tackling something. And I think it's the same thing for you guys. If you know your teacher's the one who's going to give you the marks, and find out which one they like more.
Cool. Grga, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, you could show them both, but I don't think you can do that sometimes. Yeah, like clashing, Zach and I will sometimes like do an airing of grievances sort of lunch or something like that, where like we'll go out and sort of say what's been annoying about each other. So like, you know, sort of a place where you can do a thing you can do every sort of 6 months just to get sort of stuff off your chest and like not take anything to heart, and then sort of build on your relationship. We did it a bunch and actually helped us a lot, I think, to get over a few speed bumps.
Good stuff. Well, we'll take a look at our next question, our second viewer's question.
I put in a lot of time into coming up with what I think are great ideas. I make executions only for them to, like always, be shut down. It really stings and takes me a long time to recover. How can I learn to get used to this rejection?
Yeah, that's such an important question. We've been told that in this industry you need a really thick skin. Grga, what are your tips for this?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I never really get too attached. I think it sort of comes like with time. But one of the ways you can sort of do it is also just ask why it's getting shut down, like why or what's not working. And then you can sort of see like sort of a pattern of what you do. Like we had a problem once where when we started out, we kept sort of showing negatives in ads rather than positives. And that would never get through. So maybe again, yeah, sort of ask why it's getting shut down, what's not working, and then see if you can sort of build on that.
Yeah. And Zach, how do you deal with rejection?
For me, I think it's you really need to learn to love the process of coming up with the ideas. Because like when you stop at like when you look back and think about it, you literally get paid to just think of dumb shit. Like you come up with ideas and someone gives you money for it, and they'll give you that money regardless of whether or not it gets made. Which is really cool, and I think it's easy to lose perspective when you're in it. But it's a great job, and it doesn't matter if that idea gets made or not. You still are getting paid for a really, really dumb thing. So I think it's important not to be really just focused on, if this doesn't get made, then I've done a bad job. Because that's not really the case when you get into it day to day. And honestly, the majority of the ideas you have just in the nature of the industry won't get made. So I think if you love just coming up with the ideas, you enjoy the creation process, the thought process behind it, then you're going to be fine. And then if they get made, it's a bonus.
Yeah, that's a great way of looking at it. We'll now take a look at our final viewer's question.
My partner and I have been having some serious creative issues, and we've tried to fix them, but nothing seems to be working. We clearly don't see eye to eye. What should I do?
Oof, that's an awkward one. Have you guys ever had to break up with a partner, or how would you do it if you haven't?
I never have. Sort of through uni and anything, I never really found someone that I connected with working together. What about you, Gergs?
I'd probably do it on sort of a live uni broadcast. I broke up with a partner, but it just kind of happened organically. We both went our different ways. But it was no hard feelings. I still miss him. I've told you about him before, Cam. He's very good. But yeah, I don't think if it's not working, usually it's mutual. Like we've seen friends sort of break up in partnerships, and if it's not working and you guys are arguing all day, then it's gonna go both ways, and you're both gonna have a better time without each other. So maybe the airing of grievances again, and then if the lunch goes poorly, then just break up.
Yeah, brilliant answers, guys. And thank you so much. We're now going to be crossing to Ben, who is out on the street helping us truly understand the world of advertising away from the classroom. Take it away, Ben.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Ben on the Street, a segment where I take advertising outside of the classroom to discuss interesting topics. Tonight, we're going to be discussing two aspects of advertising: art direction and copywriting. Excitingly enough, I've put together an online interview with two brilliant creatives that have recently become an art and copy duo. Now, some say that duos have to conduct a serious soul-binding blood pact, where sometimes they have to put their very own lives at risk. Unfortunately tonight, we'll have to cut to Ben online in his comfy home, following along with COVID-19 restrictions. So, over to you, Ben. Now, without further ado, allow me to introduce the brilliant Hannah and Kate, a Sydney creative duo at DDB. Pleasure to have you on here. Tell me, guys, how did this duo begin?
So we met through work. We've actually just recently teamed up, so it's all really nice and exciting and new.
Very fresh.
And work, we're like, these two girls would be perfect together.
It just blossomed from there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you go about learning to work with your new creative partner?
It's about communication, really. We basically just sat and had a chat for an hour or so, I think, discussing how you like to work. Do you like going away for a while, coming back? What's worked in the past, what maybe hasn't? It's a bit of trial and error, really.
With my first partnership, it was great, but I think that we struggled to be able to say things quite upfront, like any relationship. It's good to just be open and honest and communicate properly.
Kate, we understand that you've been in a freelance duo before with Lauren. How did you guys find the work?
So we got all our work within agencies through recruiters or people we knew at those agencies.
Well, so for Hannah, being an Amity Ad alumni, let's go. So did you graduate as a duo?
No. So I graduated by myself, and I did award school and then moved to Sydney. So I was really like solo.
What was it like facing that scary world of advertising after graduating? Because it's quite overwhelming.
It's so scary. I think when I was in third year, I was like freaking out because I was like, I don't even know if I'm good enough to get a job, or I was really scared that my book wasn't good enough. But what I kept doing is I kept reaching out to people that I would meet in the industry and really like ask for their advice and what I needed to do. RMIT has so many like cool alumni people in the industry in Melbourne, and I think I was able to really utilize that network. Fiona Finn, she really helped me find mentors. Like she helped me find Sarah McGregor, and I just found advice from like everyone around me. It doesn't come instantly, annoyingly, out of uni, which is frustrating because you're like, I just did 3 years of a university degree. Why can't I have a fucking job? Yeah, it was tough, but I'm really happy I did award school. Got me my job now.
Well, now with award school, what's it like? What's it like? Would you recommend it to graduates and the cohort
100%.
of this year?
Yeah, like if you want to be a creative, you have to do award school. Unless you're an absolute genius and you've got the best book in the world, it makes you just like a much better creative. You guys, are you going to still do pitch night at the end of the...
Yeah, so we've got pitch night about October.
Use that night as like not necessarily a night to get a job, but more to like make as many contacts as possible. You can like later use their knowledge and resource. All of the people that helped me with my award school book and make it really good, I met at pitch night. All those people there want to come and help young creatives. If you hit them up later after you get their email and like, hey, I've got this other work for my folio, do you mind having a look at it? They probably will.
Are there any advantages of working as a duo?
Having two brains is
Yeah.
kind of always have to be on. And some days you're going to have a day where it just doesn't click. And so to have two of you is so helpful.
And also like having two people who have different life experience as well.
Or is it kind of important to have a clearly defined art director and a clearly defined copywriter?
No, not necessarily. There's like actually a few agencies at the moment that have just like creative duos, but I think it's good to like have those roles defined because most agencies do kind of like give you copy jobs or give you art direction jobs.
I know a duo that's technically made up of two copywriters, and they were both hired individually, but they just make awesome work, and they're both trying to refine their art direction skills now. So long as the work comes out looking schmick, then it can kind of not matter. And I think nowadays more than ever, it's better to have a bit of an understanding of both as well.
What advice would you give to young women who are navigating the industry and want to be taken seriously?
I think as women, it's harder to get taken seriously. In a way, you've kind of got to accept that there's always going to be people that don't, just cause you're a woman. I mean, like through my own life experiences, I felt it a lot. But I think that as long as you're true to yourself and you work like in the best way possible for you, and you make sure that every choice that you make is from your own integrity and, you know, you're being the right person by you, then you'll always be taken seriously by the right people. One thing I found that's been really helpful as well is like surrounding myself with women in the industry that I admire and my peers, and also like men in the industry that are big supporters of women, creating that like network around you. You'll always be taken seriously within them.
That's the last of our questions, but we have a quick challenge. In a hypothetical world, Coca-Cola is suffering from a world record loss in sales. They have decided to rebrand their beloved soft drink as a cleaning product due to its amazing stain removal properties. This is a classic photo shoot of me using that Coca-Cola to clean that desk. So could you work together now to come up with a quick headline or tagline that would suit this photo here?
There's got to be something about the fact that people have been knowing that it's like burning away the grime like on your teeth for years. Like, people have talked about it.
But it's like only like no more white lies, or like white surface, no more white lies. I don't know.
Brilliant. That's fantastic.
No, it's not. It's terrible. Lie to me then. Oh, it's just like you already know it works or something like that.
Burn your teeth, now burn the crap off this table.
Thank you guys so much for coming on here. It's been an absolute pleasure listening and hearing about some of the insights and your perspective on, you know, duos as a copywriter and art director. So back to Alana and Bella at the studio.
All right, thanks Ben, and big thanks to Hannah and Kate as well. So, as we all know by now, selling your idea is just as important as the idea itself. We creatives are constantly pitching our concepts to others even before it gets in front of the client. We got students to provide us with some questions to ask our esteemed guests for their top pitching tips. This is Pitch Perfect. So, first up, Zach and Grga, what are some general pitching tips? What makes a really great pitch?
Sorry, I think it's...
like
Oh, there's a delay. You go.
The cliche of preparation, I think it really does ring true. I think as long as you know what you're going to say and you prepare in advance to put your best foot forward, then you should be sweet. I'll read a lot of stuff straight off the page. If I don't have time to prepare, I'll make sure that everything I need to say is down on that page that I'm reading from, and then I know that I'm at least doing the idea justice.
I do the complete opposite and don't read anything off the page. But I think it's just really important just to be sort of super confident in your idea. And like, if you're stoked about it, then like the client's usually going to be stoked. They're like, wow, they're excited. Like, obviously there's something in this, even if we have to make a few tweaks or the logo bigger.
Good stuff. So in uni, we have a bit of fun dressing up in costumes, you know, bringing a bit of theatre to the pitches. Does this happen in agency at all?
Yeah, a little bit. There's like, it's not really, they'll dress up and they'll also like dress the agency up. We used to work in an agency that'll sort of remain unnamed that used to put a coffee machine out in the foyer when the clients had come in for a pitch and have a barista there that was at one point Zach, making coffees like fully branded in the agency's sort of kit and say it's there every day and that the staff get to do it, get to experience it every day, but it was just there that day and just for the pitch. And maybe one person got a coffee.
There you go. So a bit of theatre is good, but how do you pitch yourself without making it sound cringe?
Do you mean pitch yourself as in you as a creative, or?
Yeah, how do you sell yourself kind of, I guess, in job interviews and internships and whatnot without sounding cringe?
I think it's always going to suck. Like there's always that like it's just gross to sell yourself. I actually haven't changed my ZachBlakemore.com, the about page. I haven't updated the about page since I graduated uni and it got me the job. And it's so cringy. But there's an idea behind it, which I think is valuable to sort of show you can come up with the good ideas. Otherwise, just talk about the work and talk about the kind of work you want to create and make it less about you.
Yeah, it's just as painful as writing your about me on your website as it is in real life. So I think the thing is just like come across like a real person and just be excited to make the work and don't sort of, like most agencies are just trying to find nice people to work with that can come up with cool ideas. Like no one wants an asshole. No one wants someone that's got a big ego. So if you can kind of show that you're normal-ish and that you're keen to do cool stuff, then most people will kind of respond to that.
Nice. Yeah, there's some good tips there. And going back to kind of pitching an idea, how much hype is too much hype? Like, how do you show you're eager but not too eager for the client to go with your idea?
I kind of think there's a line, like, you've got to, there's like almost like, there's a line that you can say you're excited about this one, but you can't be too excited, otherwise they'll be a little freaked out. We've definitely made that mistake in the past. So it's almost acting like you want it up, but you don't really. Yeah. It's not like your baby.
Got to play it cool.
Yeah, ish.
So
ish.
Do you guys have any pre-pitch rituals to get you in the zone?
I mean, for me, I literally, if it's a big pitch presentation, we're sort of going through, like heaps of concepts, I'll go and handwrite roughly what I want to say just to make sure it's fresh in my mind. That I suppose often doesn't happen, and it's not a problem. But yeah, it's the closest thing to a ritual I have.
I'll sometimes shotgun a beer in the car park.
How does that go down?
Horribly.
I bet.
It gets all over me. I get kicked out of the room.
I think you've touched on it just before, but like with your creative work, how do you defend it when you really believe in the idea, but your client's absolutely just ripping into it?
It always hurts. I think what you want to go back to is sort of the proof points of things of how it works. So you can sort of go back to the brief and be like, this knocks off that you wanted to target this target market. Or if it's sort of a new use of media or something they're uncomfortable with, if you sort of have the research to back you up in that point, you can talk them through it. And a lot of the time they'll understand, even if they don't like it, they'll be like, I can see why that would work. But most of the time, if they don't like an idea that's a little too edgy or something like that, it's just because they're personally uncomfortable. But if you have the research and the backup or the data, then you can hang your hat on that.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's hard if it's got to the point where it's in front of a client and they're shutting it down, at the end of the day, they're the one who are paying money for it. And I think you have to respect as well that, they are putting that cash on the table. So there's nothing wrong with saying, oh yeah, totally get it, and move on to another idea as well. You don't always have to sort of prove that you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pick your battles. Like, if it's one that's really good and that you really want to, try and make, have a punt, but don't punt too hard.
Yeah, that's great advice. So I know a lot of us stumble with ums and ahs. Do you have any tips to avoid this?
I don't think there's anything too wrong with it, really. Like, as I said, I make sure that what I really need to say is sort of on the paper, and I don't mind sort of reading exactly what's on the page and then looking up and adding to it. And I mean, we say special comments. If I'm reading out a script, then Grga will add special comments along. But I think it's easy to to be overcritical with that kind of thing. Just try and be present as much as possible, and look people in the eye and talk like a normal conversation. It's okay to say every now and then.
Yeah. Like, you're going to stumble and it's fine. Nobody's perfect, and you recover, and they still understand what you're talking about 90% of the time.
Yeah, totally. I'm sure that's going to be reassuring to a lot of people. So thank you guys. Hope you lot watching along at home have taken some notes, because those were some hot tips. All right, it's time now to move on to our brief delivery. The brief this week is an exciting one. Please find a link to it on John's announcement on Canvas and follow along while Zach and Grga take us through. Pop any questions in the chat as soon as you think of them, due to a couple-minute chat delay, so that we can make sure we're able to answer them all. So, Zach and Grga, could you please run us through the brief?
Yes.
Oh, well, I don't have it in front of me. Zach?
Oh, okay.
I can do special comments.
It's okay. So top line, what the brief is to recruit non-users to the TikTok platform by showing up in local neighborhood spots and the great outdoors in unexpected but inherently TikTok ways. So it's an experiential activation brief for TikTok.
Awesome.
you want me to go through the whole thing?
No, that's fine. We'd love to
Okay.
grab some maybe tips for how to approach the brief, or some starters.
Yeah. Sort of the way we've attacked these in the past is like, think of something cool that's on TikTok and then try take it off and bring it into the real world in the most sort of exciting way possible.
Yeah, that's great. So thanks, guys. While you guys are at home digesting the brief, keep your questions coming through. In the meantime, let's catch up with all things advertising this week in Perry's Hungry News. Take it away, Perry.
Good evening and welcome to Hungry News. I'm your host, Perry Capnius. Our top stories tonight are brought to you by B&T, Australia's leading publication for advertising and media news. Nike has been beloved by athletes, hypebeasts and marketers alike for over 50 years. However, they've recently fallen out of favour with Greek speakers and spelling bee contestants. The iconic brand, whose namesake derives from the Greek goddess of victory, released this shoe with an anglicised spelling of their name using Hellenic lettering. In Greek, it spells out Pix, which is exactly what I would be taking if I saw someone wearing this blunder out. If you're still hanging for a new pair of Nikes, be prepared for disappointment, as the brand is currently facing a sneaker shortage. 3 of Nike's suppliers in Vietnam have been forced to temporarily cease manufacturing because of a COVID-19 outbreak. In other sportswear news, Australian brand Lorna Jane has been hit with a $5 million fine for dabbling in the trending study of virology. The brand claimed to sell antivirus activewear which protects wearers with an LJ shield. Lorna Jane promoted this on their website, socials and in-store with the slogan, "Cure for the spread of COVID-19? Lorna Jane thinks so." You can read more about these stories on bnt.com.au. And onto this week's bad ads, which, though repulsive, are luckily not contagious. This Thai vaccination ad displays a vial of the virus, apparently created not by Pfizer or AstraZeneca, but by the newest pharmaceutical company in the game, Lorem Ipsum. The World Health Organization got a little bit creative with their color schemes and fonts, despite attempting to make it clear that the vaccine is vegan, halal, microchip-free, and safe for people. And taking out the top spot is this ad from a local American newspaper, the Oklahoma Gazette, which decided to single-handedly bring vaccination and the good old days of music together in one sharp ad. That's all for tonight.
Thanks, Perry. We have now put Zach and Grga into the hot seat to answer your burning questions for them on from the start of the show to now into the brief. So let's take a look at the chat.
So this question is specifically for Zach. When you showed your portfolio at pitch night, what kind of things were in it?
I think, honestly, I did the TAFE course at RMIT, and that had a lot of actual responses to briefs. So yeah, I had just scamp ads. Out of home, I had like storyboards for TVCs that obviously didn't exist, and social ads and everything that I'd created during uni. And then just the About Me page was sort of something that was ended up being really important because that it was demonstrating that I could actually write, because it was sort of longer, and it was longer paid. It was longer form content copy. But yeah, it was just everything from uni. I never did internships or anything before that. I had 4 days of work experience before getting the job. So if you've done any internships and you've got work from a real agency that you can show, I think that puts you streams ahead. But yeah, I essentially just get ideas onto pages.
Good stuff. Yeah, that's a really good tip. And I think a lot of our students, we do these quick briefs that you've given us. So yeah, filling their portfolio with that would be really helpful for them. We do have another question here. What are your thoughts about how valuable content creator collaboration is? I think that's in regards to TikTok.
TikTok, yeah, definitely valuable. TikTok sort of hangs their hat on content creators. So there's even a thing you can use as a business on TikTok called TikTok Creator Marketplace, where you can put a brief in and invite sort of anyone on TikTok to view the brief and then potentially make content for you. With social stuff, it's really good. So it gives you like sort of a fresh perspective and a way of sort of understanding a platform from the people who understand it and use it most.
Yeah, that's a great approach. This question comes from Ginfield. What should you eat the morning before a pitch?
Whatever it is, just make sure it's not going to stain your shirt.
Is that speaking from personal experience?
I'm sure it is. We actually, Grga and I, one of our first client meetings, they changed the day. They brought the day forward, and we were wearing t-shirts, which would have been totally fine. But we were like, oh, we have to go into the city to buy button-down shirts. And we ended up getting pizza just before, running out of time, getting an Uber back, even though the office was just down the road. The Uber went down the tram lines, like where you aren't allowed to drive, and it was just after the attack where someone crashed their car into a group of people. So we were surrounded by cops. And then we had to catch a taxi back in to get to the meeting. The Uber driver got arrested. Sorry, you just reminded me of the content of that from the question. But yeah, pizza was fine. Do you remember how the presentation went?
No idea. I've still got the shirt though.
As a souvenir.
That's a good story. No,
yeah,
that's a good one.
ACD forced us to go.
So I think the top tip there is non-staining. Stadium foods is good before the pitch. And don't take an Uber.
Yeah, don't get pulled over. But...
I think this one's in regards to the brief. So we've got a question that asks, does non-users mean people who do not use the app or people who do use the app but do not create content?
People who don't use the app or don't have the app. TikTok is trying to be more of an entertainment platform, so they're less interested in convincing people to create content. They just really want people viewing the content, and their big selling point is their algorithms meant to be you get the content that you want to see based on what you view and everything like that. So if you can work that into the idea, that's perfect.
Oh, great. And another question about the brief. Could you just briefly describe for those at home that might not know what a brand activation is? Could you please describe that?
Yeah, it's like a experiential ad. So essentially anything that you could do out in the real world that can give sort of the public sort of an insight. So like a good example in recent years has been like Grave of Thrones that DDB did for Game of Thrones, HBO, a couple years ago. So they brought a graveyard right into the sort of the heart of Sydney and showed all the graves of the characters that died in the show to promote the last season. So anything like that kind of shows like a cool part of TikTok in the real world could be good. So it could be like food, music, like any sort of entertainment that's on there.
Cool. I think that gives us a little bit more clarity for those who wanted to know. And our other question is back in regards to pitch night. How do you stand out to agencies when everybody else is trying to pitch themselves too?
Yeah, it's not easy. I think, prepare as much as you can in advance. Stress test the ideas you put into your portfolio. Don't try and show too many. Really put your best foot forward. You can do, I don't know, when I was at uni, they encourage people to sort of do little like giveaways sort of things, as well as like a business card. I'd say if you're doing things like that, just think about how inconvenient it's going to be for the person who's, meeting who's meeting sort of 15 creatives that day, people ended up just leaving them on the tables because they were inconvenient to carry around. But I did I actually had a business card holder that I got made, and had my information on the business card holder, in a way that sort of linked back to my portfolio, the sort of creative idea that I pitched myself with. But it was a practical idea, because my point with that was I don't just come up with, random ideas. My ideas are going to have a real purpose behind them. Because obviously the people I was pitching myself to had a lot of business cards given to them throughout the day.
That's such a great
That's
idea.
a good idea.
I feel like there's also an opportunity to go hybrid digital physical because of what's happening with Pitch Night this year being, I'm assuming, a little bit online, a little bit in person. So exploring potentially maybe QR codes or some sort of like online experience could be great, and avoid that physical having to like carry around gift baskets and things like that. So moving on to our next question from Victoria, are there any extracurriculum studies that you can recommend other than award school, or what are your thoughts on award school?
I'm a firm believer in award school. It sort of teaches you a lot that I especially didn't get from uni, and you meet a lot of industry people as well, and you meet a lot of people like peers that you'll be working with in the future that can help you out like with jobs. So I remember like when I was at award school, like I met a bunch of people I still talk to now, and we still talk about sort of like stuff up and coming and help each other get jobs or support each other like with ideas and stuff like that, which is really cool. And then the mentors you meet are great as well. Like my mentors, tutors, got me the job at Ogilvy, which was really cool. Yeah, it's just a really good way to get your foot in the door and sort of, learn a few things along the way as well.
Cool.
Yeah, I tried to get into it and didn't, but I wish I had. And it's important to know, you can't do it if you've been working as a creative for 6 months. So now's sort of the time to try and get into it, if you can. And award school also, you can find their briefs online. So if you're struggling to find sort of like a starting point for the scamp ads you put into your portfolio, award school is also a really good resource for that kind of thing. That's the main one that I think will get you jobs. There's also copy school for copywriters, is worth doing as well.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, that's a really good question and really good tips for that one. And another question we have here, I think, in regards to the brief is, do we have to stick to the insight and proposition in the brief, or can we make another suggestion?
That's really just a leaping off point. Please come up with your own insights that go a bit deeper than that, and take it wherever you want.
Great, thank you. And we've discussed previously that we'll try to compile the students' suggestions and send them off to you guys for feedback, and potentially even be suggested to the client. So make sure you guys keep that in mind.
And with that, that brings us to the end of another amazing Hungry Talks episode. Big thank you to Zach and Grga for tonight and all the incredible advice and tips you've given us.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you. Did you enjoy it? Did you have fun?
Yeah,
How'd we
fun.
do?
Yeah, you did great. Yeah, you nailed it.
Thank you. We hope you enjoyed your time on Hungry Talks, and fingers crossed we can see you on Pitch Night as well. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, hopefully.
We'll try and get a ticket to Melbourne out of it.
Yeah. Amazing. Well,
That'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how it's all going in the couple of weeks, couple of months. But we'll let you go. We'll let you have your night back. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
It was a lot of
See
fun.
ya.
Fair.
Now, students, if you haven't already, please go ahead and download the brief from John's announcement on Canvas. You can also view it on our socials. And before we go, we are on the hunt for one or two second year students who would love to give us a hand with some pre-production and content creation work. If you're interested, please check out John's announcement on Canvas for all the details. But besides that, we hope you guys have enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next week where we'll be chatting with an incredible accounts manager. But for now, I'm Bella.
And I'm Alana, and this has been Hungry Talks. Hope you have a groovy night.